Hey guys, Ernie here, and today's gonna be different. I'll be journaling my Omicron COVID experience. Now, it pretty much started with my son, my eldest son, tested positive, with COVID, and my granddaughter as well, my eldest granddaughter. And because we know that Omicron is highly contagious, if you're in a household, you have to assume that somehow everybody else in that household has um, COVID, without necessarily getting tested. So both of them got tested positive, and so they had the symptoms, very obvious. My son had fever, flu-like symptoms, and that was the reason why they had to go for a test. Now, I only had the scratchy throat. I believe that was my first day that I knew that somehow I may already have been contaminated or infected with the virus, because of my itchy throat. I was going like this. Okay. Now, before I move on, my advice to you is if you are in a public area, you're in a bus, a train, a restaurant, coffee shop, wherever, but the minute you hear somebody, close by doing this, all right, that means the person may already have the first signs of the Omicron COVID. So you gotta avoid people like that. Okay, when you hear people doing that, right away walk away. You gotta walk away. All right, keep your distance. Now, going back to my son and my granddaughter, my daughter-in-law as well and my youngest granddaughter, they decided to go for a PCR test. But the problem was, well, let me go back. So my son and my granddaughter had a rapid antigen test, RAT. That showed that they were positive, but then that has to be confirmed by going for a PCR test. So they lined up, they went looking for an open testing center, and surprisingly, a couple of them were closed. They, somehow they just decided to shut down, and then we found out later, in the news that more than 100 testing centers, COVID testing facilities, had to shut down because they were overwhelmed by the number, of customers. So imagine more than 100 had to shut down. And because people could not get a PCR test, even though New South Wales had about 35,000 something cases for one day, that was about a couple of days ago or 3 days ago. But because people were not able to, get a PCR test, maybe the number was beyond that. The number of cases was beyond that. All right. Now let me go back to the symptoms. So like what I said, I had that, the itchy throat. And I was going like that. And then on the third day, all right, I began to have fever. I woke up with a fever, with body aches, flu-like symptoms, all right, and no headache. I had body aches, I had sore throat, I had a fever. My fever was like 38 something. All right, so I wasn't really burning hot, just 38 was pretty much tolerable. Now, when my eldest son was having such a hard time with the symptoms, the sore throat, the flu, and all that, I asked him to call up, our GP, to seek medical advice. Okay, and surprisingly, our GP told him, because I asked my son, ask the GP for a prescription for the sore throat, like azithromycin, antibacterial antibiotic, med, and also melatonin, because he was having a hard time sleeping, and I also was having a hard time sleeping. And so I asked him, get a prescription for the antibiotic and for melatonin. And the GP said, sorry, that's not in our guideline. We're just following the guidelines from the health ministry. And all we can give you is Panadol. Just take Panadol. And then when you begin to have difficulty breathing, that's the time you go to the hospital. So imagine that. No advice whatsoever to take antibiotics. No advice to take vitamins, minerals, supplements. Okay, just Panadol. Now, if you were in my situation, I'm not a doctor, of course, far from that. But I did my own research, like each one of us, we have a responsibility to our own health. And doctors are not perfect, experts are not perfect in their expertise. Always remember that. So when they were given guidelines not to prescribe certain types of medications to address the COVID virus, you need to take responsibility to do your own research. And one of my favorite doctors online, you find him in YouTube, is Dr. John Campbell, and many others as well. Dr. Pierre Corey, flCCC.net. Go to that website and you'll find their protocols for COVID. These are expert clinicians, COVID critical care clinicians. They've addressed thousands of patients, recovered because of their protocols. So I did my own research, and so I bought this for my family. That's vitamin D3. That's 1,000 IU. Don't go for the 400 international units. Listen, one clinician said that the 400 international units that they have been recommending as RDA was like something that doctors have recommended 120 years ago, and they never changed it. And so don't just even go for 1,000 IU. Go for like 4,000 to 5,000 international units. All right. Especially if you are brown skinned just like me, go for 5,000 international units a day. Now, the other one that I was taking, my family and I are taking, is the vitamin C. Don't worry about the brand, okay? The brand doesn't really matter. The content, that's what matters, is the content. So this is 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, Bio-C, okay? And so I'm taking like 2,000 milligrams in the morning, 2,000 in the evening. I'm not a doctor, so you don't have to follow my dosage. Seek the advice of your physician. Now, our own GP was not able to give us any advice, so I had to do my own research, and I just, checked out the websites of FLCCC, okay, and of course Dr. John Campbell, among other, um, you know, physicians. All right, and so I'm somewhat following their advice. Okay, you don't have to follow my advice because I'm not a doctor. All right, do your own research. And then we were taking also the NAC. All right, this one here. Okay, N-acetyl L-cysteine, 600 milligrams. So that's like 1,200 milligrams a day. One in the morning, 600 milligrams in the morning, 600 milligrams in the evening. And then, aside from that, I'm also taking this one. Okay, the black seed oil. All right. Now this one is 500 milligrams. Some doctors are advising for you to take, for you and I to take, like 85 milligrams per kilogram of your body weight. So if I am 64 kilos in weight, I should be taking like close to about 5,000 milligrams. But because I'm running out of supplies, I'm just doing 3,000 milligrams a day. All right. So 3 tablets or 3 capsules in the morning, 3 capsules in the evening. Okay. And then also for my fever, okay, and flu, this is what I'm taking, Nurofen. Okay. Now, once the fever subsided, okay, I changed to Codral for my flu symptoms and throat as well, and dry cough, because I'm also having dry cough, I guess because of the my throat. So I'm already in my recovery period. All right, it's pretty mild, so don't listen to like hypes by the media, lies from big pharma funded physicians. All right, and you've probably heard, okay, in the news that WHO has already pronounced that Omicron is not as mild as people had thought it to be. Okay, because of surging numbers of hospitalizations and all that. But I'm not really sure. I mean, you got to listen to other experts as well. Listen to the experts from South Africa, because that's where Omicron started. They're overcoming the disease, with not that many hospitalizations, mild symptoms, just like what I'm experiencing and my son has experienced. Nothing severe, just flu-like symptoms. All right, body aches, what else? Oh, I'm also taking this aloe vera juice. All right, 99.9%. I don't know if you can find it in the shops where you are at. So I'm taking that as well. I take that before meals, 50 ml. I do like 100 ml. I mean, it's a natural herb. It's aloe vera. It's, safety net is really great. All right, no health risk. as far as I know. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not prescribing. I'm just sharing information as to how I personally addressed, the Omicron virus. All right, because I don't believe that you and I have to wait, for us to experience difficulty in breathing before they can apply critical care. Okay, whatever, and just take Panadol. I'm sorry, I don't believe in that. I believe that this is not just a flu, this is Omicron. And I'm fully vaccinated, mind you. All right. So here I am, fully vaccinated. I can still transmit the virus. So I am quarantining. Okay. I am confined to my room. I wear a mask when I, go to the toilet. All right. So pretty much that's it. Remember to pray. Prayer, worship, really help a lot. That makes you aware that God surrounds you in the midst of this endemic. Okay? Somebody once said, and this is true, that divine health and divine healing is our inheritance. Somebody paid for it already. God bless you.